Hi, my name's Laurie. I have a company called SimplyRaw Pet Food, and I'm here to teach you how to make your own nutritious pet food at home safely with the right supplements, and your cat will be healthier for it. Alright, I'm going to show you the things that you need to get together to start. This is what the package looks like if I give you the supplements. It has everything you need in it except for meat, eggs, water, and an optional olive oil if you want. Okay? Alright, you're going to need a big tub to mix your meat. I use a really big tub because we do about 20 pounds of food at a time, so we use a big tub. Today I'm just going to do 5. Mixing spoon, the spatula always comes in handy, but you don't necessarily have to have one. A measuring cup, a blender or a whisk. You can do this with a whisk. And a bowl to mix your wet material in. And that's about it. We'll see if I forgot anything. Alright, then you need meat. I'm teaching you today how to do it out of already ground meat. So you can get turkey, chicken, you can do, well, I'm not going to tell you to do pork already ground because in the store it's too fat, but you can grind up your own pork and do that too. So that's all you need is already pre-ground turkey or chicken preferably, eggs, water, the olive oil, and that's it. And the supplements, okay? These supplements are the same recommendation that you will find on catnutrition.org, only with some secret stuff that is good for the cat's nutrition and good for getting the cat to accept the raw and to adjust to it without any digestive issues. He wants to sample it already. I'm here filming at the Rescue Cats No-Kill Cat Shelter, one of my favorite places and a place that I support with all my heart. So she's actually using some of this raw food on some of her sicker cats. So that's how we got together to make this film. Alright, so the first thing I do at home is I get the water and I get the eggs. I don't have, I'll use this. I'll use a Ziploc for my garbage. You just need the egg yolk. Now, at home I don't waste the whites because I have dogs. So I cook them up and put them in the dog food. And that's the only thing I do cook. But you just need, that was the wrong way. Just need the yolks. And the reason for that is that if you have too much egg white in your food consistently, it interferes with some of the absorptions of some of the vitamins. A little bit of egg white isn't going to have a big deal, but you don't want to do it consistently. Now I know that some people use the eggshells as part of the calcium makeup in the food. I don't recommend that for cats. I've had people have anal gland issues with their pets from the eggshell not being pulverized enough or the cat not being able to tolerate it. So that's the reason I do not use eggshells. Again, for my dogs, I guess I could cook them up and give it to them, but for this purpose today, we're just going to put them in the garbage. Since I'm using meat that does not have bone in it, it takes 6 egg yolks to make up for the loss of the nutrition of the bones. I supplement the bone in my product with bone meal, trace minerals, and gelatin. So I do not forget to add in the trace minerals, because what they found over time is if you just use bone meal that they would come up with some vitamin deficiencies anyway. Now the bone meal now is tested for any kind of metal issues. There's no chance of getting mad cow disease anymore. It used to be that bone meal was actual garden product more than a food product, and it wasn't regulated. But now if you get it from the Now products or from Solgar, there's no chance of any kind of issue with getting mad cow disease from bovine bone meal. So there's all kinds of people out there a little bit worried about bone meal, but it's really kind of unwarranted. Okay, so I got the eggs in. I do add the optional olive oil, and I add about a tablespoon per pound, and I've done it for so long I can just eyeball it, kind of like Emerald. But it adds some sheen to their coats, and it's a helpful oil. It's not going to add to the inflammatory process or anything like that. In the top of my package is where the salmon oil capsules will be packaged. And for meat without bone, there should be 6 salmon oil capsules. That package is for meat with bone, so I bought extras for what we're making. And this is the worst part for me as far as the salmon oil taste. At home I use a paring knife, and in my package I have extended release capsules so that they don't squirt. They're softer, because people complain that when they go to squeeze them out that they squirt all over their clothes and everything, and I don't like that either. So I actually went and bought extended release, which doesn't make any sense because you're squeezing the oil out of the capsule, but it makes it easier and less messy. So let it be said that I have gone to no small lengths to make sure that everything in my product is what I would feed my cat. It's the better brands and the better quality. So the bone meal is Solgar, and the salmon oil capsules are Natural Factors extended release. And the glandulars that they recommend, I get Nutricology's Implex, which is one of the better brands out on the market. I get organic dulse and organic funnel husks, so that I'm sure that everything is the best. Now, I package up the supplements and I let people do their own thing with the meat, because everybody has their own idea about if their cat should have organic chicken or if they can just go get the sale item on the shelf. And I want this to be as accessible to everybody, to do, not just to the people who can only afford organic meats, okay? So yes, you can go get what's going to go bad the next day and is on sale, because if it really is bad, your cat's not going to eat it, and you can tell that when you open it. But if you make it right away, it should be alright. They're not supposed to sell anything that's going to go bad on the exact date that they put on the package. Now it does happen though. Alright, he's liking this. He smells my secret sauce. That smells very fishy in here. And it's called Secure. And Secure is probably one of the most important natural products I have discovered for digestive issues, for helping an animal not to look like they're going through such a problem getting used to raw. Because sometimes people report that their cat actually looks sicker, because I don't know if any of you have ever gone on a vegetarian diet and then tried to go back to a meat diet. You actually don't feel good, and they actually start getting rid of toxins too. So some people give up on the raw because they think their cat's having a bad reaction to it, and really all it is it's a natural process of getting used to a different diet. Their stools are going to look different on raw. They're going to look more firm and drier, but they shouldn't be too dry. They just should be pretty solid. Sometimes on commercial foods they'll look pretty mushy. I have just put everything in. You saw me put in some CoQ10, which I'm making this batch up for the rescue cats, the sick animals. It's not in my baseline batch, but it's always something you could add to your own food at home. And the other thing I wanted to point out is this L-methionine. This is a supplement that actually helps keep cats from getting bladder stones. And it's what's in chicken gizzards. And I actually put chicken gizzards in my ground meat. So I'm actually giving this bottle to the rescue cats so that they can use it for supplementation with their raw food. But we just use natural products and use the chicken gizzards and grind that up with everything. And that seems to keep everybody very healthy. Plus it stretches the meat a little bit since it's a little cheaper than turkey. And the amount that I put in is 2 pounds of gizzards for every 5 pounds of ground food. So the actual one batch of ground raw food is considered 2.5 pounds. And that was the base recipe. And one of the books that I used when I was researching how to do this was Raising Cats Naturally. And that's actually the information that you will find on catnutrition.org. That was the same book that they used for their basis. And it was not until I found 3 different sources that agreed with the recipe before I tried it. I did a huge amount of research. I've been feeding my cats raw for 10 years. My one FIP cat is 10 years old. My other FIP cat is 11 years old. I didn't get him though till he was 3 and had the FIP as an adult. He just had contracted it. So my vet actually wrote up raw food for helping FIP cats when my cats were about 18 months old because they had already lived longer than anybody had predicted. So she's 10, you can't even tell she's sick, and she eats this. So that in and of itself is my feeding trial. Alright, I'm using a blender. You can use a whisk. If you blend it longer, it'll start looking a little bit thicker. And it's the phylum husk that starts absorbing into the food, into the fluids. But I'm going to leave it just like this so that this video isn't so long. It doesn't really matter. It's going to thicken up as it gets into the meat. The reason I have a spatula is you can see that some of the supplements settle out on the bottom, and I just get it all out in there. And it's going to usually look somewhat of a mustard color when you get done mixing it. It could be a light mustard, a dark mustard. It's usually, this is a yellower color than you're probably going to look because there's lecithin crystals in here to add some fat for these little sick kitties. So the regular supplementation doesn't have any lecithin in it and doesn't have any CoQ10. It's not an absolute necessity, number one. It's just for our little special needs kitties. So just get it so where it's mixed kind of evenly. And the food with no bones looks a little bit paler than the food with bones because once you grind up bones in this stuff, it gets much redder. It looks much healthier. This is turkey breast meat just because I find that more palatable to get cats to be able to accept raw food. Is the white meat for some reason even though the dark meat is a little bit better for them because it is fattier. I kind of make up for that with the lecithin crystals. So I try to go for what tastes better to them to get them used to the diet. And these guys are just being introduced to raw, so they get the bland, and that's what it looks like. It looks like bland baby cereal for the little sick kitties. But when I do Cornish game hen and I cut up the bones, it looks like the reddest, richest meat. And that's it. I'm so not used to seeing 5 pounds. I'm so used to seeing 20, but that's what it looks like when it's done. Just kind of, and that's the consistency that I usually start out with. Now it's going to get thicker as you put it in the freezer and freeze it, and then thaw it out again. It'll actually get thicker. But this is how I like to have it start. The nice thing about the raw is it gives them extra fluids along with their food. You'll notice that they start drinking less water because they're getting it in their meal. So you don't have to worry that they're not getting enough water. That's one of the problems with dry food, is that they don't get enough water. They're desert animals at their basis, and they don't necessarily drink enough. So when they get it in their food, it kind of gives them a leg up to recover from whatever they're ailing from. So that's it. That's the final product. You can package it up in Ziploc bags, which I thought I dropped. Yes, I did. And you want to package it up either, some people do single servings for how many cats they have, but the most you want to package up at a time is enough for 3 days of food. You don't want to have it in your fridge for more than 3 days. It probably won't go bad, but that's the rule of thumb. And you don't want it in your freezer for more than a month. I put enough taurine in that it's double what anybody needs, and that's what degrades during freezing. But bacteria still does grow even while a food is frozen, so you don't really want it in your fridge for more than a month. That's my recommendations. That's everybody's recommendations, so I would stick to them. So you can package it up in a Ziploc bag, or you can use the liver containers that are out there, the little plastic containers, Ziploc containers, the plastic ones with the lids, really anything that you find convenient to freeze and thaw back out. I, for years, just did Ziplocs. I fill them up. I had 2 cats, and I fill them up enough for 3 days, actually 2 days of food, because I had 2 Maine Coons, and I actually still have those 2 Maine Coons. I would put them in the freezer, and I would stack them on each other because they would flatten out. So I would zip it up, and they would flatten out like that. They were full, and I'd just stack them up in the freezer and pull them out. And I'd date them on the bag and say whether they had bones or no bones in them. So that's it. Alright, that's how you make raw food with SimplyRaw pet food. It makes it easy because all the supplements are put together for you, and there's at least like 12 different supplements if I find the bag. Alright, there is Secure, Phylum Husk, Taurine, Salmon Oil, Dulse, Kelp, Grapefruit Seed, Vitamin E, Multiglandular, Vitamin B, Vitamin A and D in the bag that comes with for the meat with bone. If it doesn't have bone, then there would be bone meal, trace minerals, gelatin, and all these vitamins would be increased because that's how much the bone actually adds to the nutritional value. So if you want to try starting feeding raw, you can email me at simplyraw@live.com. My website is in the process. It's not finished, and you can't order off of it yet, but hopefully by middle of November it will be. But you can always email me at simplyraw@live.com. My name's Laurie. Thank you.